in Chicago.
It's time for Black Houses Matter with Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Good morning, Chicago. I see trees of green, literally red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. What do we think to ourselves, Chicago? It's a wonderful world. All righty.
Well, good morning, WVON. Welcome to Black Houses Matter.
Hey, hey.
This is the second week that Treasurer Maria Pappas couldn't make it. She'll be back next week, but she is celebrating her Holy Week. And
wonderful.
I'm not, I don't wear those great jackets and I can't sing, but I do have the fabulous David Gordon with me here today.
Hey.
Indispensable Treasurer's office employee who sports a mean bow tie and has an amazing mellifluous voice.
All right.
Don't you love that word? Mellifluous.
Mellifluous. All righty. Love it.
All right. Good morning, David. So today we're going to talk about the latest Pappas report. It's been out 2 weeks today now, and it's made a few waves in the public policy world. It's called How State Laws Failed to Stop Decades of Skyrocketing Property Taxes, a Case for Reform. In this study, we tackle the primary reason taxes go up and up and up every year.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, as we all know, we've discussed this before on the show and in our studies, assessments shift the burden from one group of people or one business to another, or businesses to residences, and the appeals can cause further shifts. But it's the annual increase in the levies. Absent those annual increases in the levies, you would see minor adjustments from year to year. But the levies, which are what the school districts, the local municipal officials, cities and villages, park districts, library districts, what everyone asks for from the property tax every year. They say, I want this amount of money, and they vote on that, and that's the levy. So people need to focus on that. As a young reporter, when I was talking about assessments and rates with the wise old politician that sort of took me under his wing, he told me you need to focus on the levies, Hal, because that's what really drives the increases. And he had a pithy phrase to make you think about that. It was, it's the levy, stupid. Okay, a little blunt, but he got the point across.
He got the point across.
And here I am, 30-some years later, overseeing a study on it. Now, you can find that study on cookcountytreasurer.com. You just go to cookcountytreasurer.com. You click on the light blue box in the top left, and you will see the title of the study there. And if you go to that page, you can see it in line with interactive dashboards in HTML, web format, or you can print out a copy. We've tried to make this the most helpful we can to all the taxpayers.
That's wonderful.
But the top line of this, David, is kind of startling. So we looked at 30 years of property tax increases over the last 30 years, from 1995 to 2024. The total property tax tab in Cook County rose by 182%. Now, you might say, okay, that's inflation. So we looked at inflation. Inflation was exactly half of that, 91%.
This goes beyond inflation then, right?
That's right. It's well beyond double inflation.
Oh, my goodness.
It's also bigger than the increase in wages. So what that means is people get their paycheck, make their annual income, but more of that, a bigger percentage of that has to come out of that and pay for property taxes.
My goodness.
And that's also drives up the cost of a home when you get a
Yes.
mortgage. Talk about an affordability issue. We have one right here.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So I know you're facing that. And
Yes.
yeah, where you live out, I think in the Midway area,
Yes.
where taxes just really shot up tremendously.
Crazy.
Yeah. But the study goes on to explain why taxes soared and how they soared. And we hope that the discussion is not just to alarm people, but we have a lot of potential solutions, and they're hoping that it really sparks the debate, and that after 40 years of studying these issues, that both the General Assembly and local leaders put their heads together and find a way to shift the burden away from these property taxes and into something that's more affordable for lower income people.
Very good.
But we'll get to all the details of that before long. But again, like we did last week, we're going to take a page out of Treasurer Pappas's handbook and highlight an interesting story in the news. So we are going to talk about flatulence, otherwise known as passing gas. You ready for that one, David?
Oh, I think I'm ready for it. I'm not 100%, but
Yeah.
I think I'm ready.
All right. The Washington Post last week had an excerpt from a book, has the catchy title, "You've Been Pooping All Wrong."
Pooping all wrong.
And it's by a Dr. Tricia Pasricha. And she's a Harvard educated doctor and a pretty darn good writer. And you know, I'm trained as a writer. I really respect it.
Yes.
So the excerpt explains how another doctor and researcher named Dr. Michael Levitt, who, by the way, his colleagues refer to him as the king of farts, because he studied flatulence all his life,
Okay.
set out to settle an age-old debate: do women's or men's farts smell worse? Yeah. So to do this, they had to collect gas from both men and women. I won't get into those details.
You can say that again.
And then they measure it with a gas chromatograph, which is actually something I believe Dr. Levitt invented or discovered early in his career and put him on this career path, rather. So the conclusion: women's gas had far more odor intensity, but men passed gas in much greater quantities. So in the end, the farts of men and women are equally awful. So, and if you all want to learn more, you can run out and get the book, although you can find a lot of this on social media. Are you going to buy that book, dude?
I think I will stick with my little private moments when it comes to farts.
As we'd all prefer to do.
Yeah.
So let's get back. And I want to say, that the guy, it all sounds funny, but the guy has, I guess, really helped a lot of people with this study. I don't want to belittle the man.
Right.
And actually, the spacesuits that they use now when they go on spacewalks and maybe land on the moon again one day, they used his technology, because what was happening is the suits would just accumulate that. And so he found a way to stop that.
Interesting.
So it made our astronauts more comfortable.
Good.
So let's get back to the taxes. Now, property taxes are a real problem, especially with the way they've trended in this state, both for homeowners and businesses. We have in the state of Illinois the second highest overall residential tax rate in America. And in many of the struggling south suburbs of Cook County, the tax rates are so high, David. I don't know if you know anybody that's lived there.
Okay.
But what happens is, let's say you pay $100,000 for a home. They're a little less expensive. Then people think, oh, I'm getting something more affordable.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But then they get their tax bills. And in just 12 or 13 years, they might pay another $100,000 in taxes, as much as they paid for the house. So they're going to, if they live in there a long time, they're going to pay for it repeatedly. So it's a huge problem in the south suburbs, which we've addressed before. And everywhere, the rising taxes make it difficult for many low-income minority property owners to build generational wealth. which is extremely important, as we all know, in the Black community.
Yes, definitely.
And it also hits in Chicago. Businesses get hit really hard, and you might say, yeah, let's give them more of the burden. But without thriving businesses, people don't have jobs. There isn't other economic activity that generates sales taxes and generally spreads the burden. And in Chicago, the commercial property tax rate is the highest in the United States. Used to be Detroit. Now it's us.
Now it's us. My goodness. Wow.
And then also we have the second highest industrial property tax rate. So those warehouses and so forth are getting hit pretty hard too.
Is that why a lot of businesses are leaving Chicago?
It's one reason. There's the volatility from the assessments, which helped fuel an election upset in the assessor's office. And so we'll have a new assessor next year because they're trying to tame that. But the high rates, businesses like predictability, but they also like lower rates. And in Chicago, your property tax can be your top expense.
Yes.
So it does make people second guess it, and they don't want to come here. You see all these vacant buildings. That's part of the reason they don't want to come here. It's a real catch-22 because you want to get that rate down, right? So that businesses feel comfortable coming here. And then you spread the tax base among those businesses more widely, and all people pay less, including the residents. But on the other hand, they don't want to come here. So you've got to address this problem to fix that.
Okay.
So now we're going to, again, like we did last week, because it's just really important, changing the inexorable rise in property taxes is a problem for the state and local leaders to address. The individual homeowner can, yes, let their local leaders know. They can ask, that they do something about it.
Yes.
But in the near term, the now, they should all make sure they have all their exemptions, right, David?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Make sure you have all of your exemptions.
So let's discuss them real quickly again. They're homeowners exemptions. There's three primary types. What's the main homeowners exemption?
The main homeowners exemption, citizens of Cook County, is you have to be a property owner for 1 year before you can start applying for your homeowners exemption. The homeowners exemption saves you $500 or greater off of your property taxes. The next one is for seniors. The senior exemption is for homeowners that are 65 and older. It has to be your primary resident. Once you reach 65, you then qualify for the homeowners and the senior citizens exemption, which will save you another $500 off of your tax bill. And if you are really struggling, seniors, if you're really struggling to pay your taxes and you're on a very limited income, Social Security or whatever, they then have what's called the senior freeze exemption. The senior freeze exemption, they lower the taxes based off of your income, and your taxes could come down as far as zero. The assessor makes that they make that determination based off of your income, but you will save a lot of money if you're on a very limited income and you apply for your senior freeze exemption.
Yeah. And last week we had a call, was interesting. If you have those exemptions, can you still appeal your assessment? And the answer is yes. And I looked up a little bit more about that. If you have the senior freeze, if, and say your condo board appeals and you're part of the appeal, it won't, you've already had your assessment frozen at the point you qualified for it.
Yes.
But it won't hurt you if the condo board appeals. So I think it was good to clarify, because then if they do get it below whatever it was frozen at, you will get a break.
Yes.
You got to reapply, and then your freeze will be even lower.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So yeah, don't worry about that if you want to appeal. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the studies on this go back to Governor James Thompson, someone in history that David and I can remember.
Yes.
I'm sure some of our younger listeners don't know, but that was 40 years ago in the 80s. And he assembled a task force, and then umpteen governors did so afterward. And there were changes proposed to increase income taxes and shift and then lower property taxes. There have been any number of proposals that would ease the burden. And during the Edgar administration, they did enact what's called the property tax extension limitation law, supposed to limit increases to the rate of inflation or 5%, whichever is less. Unfortunately, in all school districts are to be bound by that.
Yes.
But despite that, the school district's taxes went up even more than taxes as a whole. They went up 186%. Inflation rate was 91%. So what gives? Well, there's all these loopholes in the law. And we do suggest that the legislature look at closing some of these loopholes. And I'll get to those in a minute, but you're going to have to, if you do this, you're going to have to also find other forms of more progressive funding, more progressive than the property tax, certainly, to help fund those schools. One idea is a graduated income tax, taxing higher earners at higher tax rates, or charging sales taxes on high-end services. You know, you're getting a $500 spa treatment or something. You might pay a little something for that.
Okay.
And the idea is to shift that burden to people with higher incomes, because what we found is with the property tax at the very low end, people are paying much higher percentages of their income to property taxes than at the low end.
My goodness.
Or at the high end. At the low end, they're paying far more than at the high end. So there is one version that is being discussed in Springfield, and there was a study out about it last week. It's called the millionaire's tax. So let's say all of a sudden I get a job and I own the world and I'm making millions of dollars.
Okay.
It's a nice fantasy.
Yeah, that's a great fantasy.
and so for every, I get my 4.95% state income tax charge right now on all that money. But if this were enacted, it would charge an extra 3% on any amount I made over that 1 million. And over time, they estimate that could bring in more than $4 billion.
Really?
And so you could dedicate that money to bring up school funding to where it should be, and then close some of these loopholes so that we put the lid on the increases on the property taxes, and you shifted the burden to people that can afford it more. I know it's being debated in Springfield. It isn't soup yet, as they say, so we'll see what happens. But it would require a strong legislative approval, and then it would to put a referendum on the ballot, because we have to change our Constitution, which says we have to have a flat tax in order to do that. Of course,
you know, I was thinking as I was reading this, I was like, it seems like over and over again, the more we try to offset something, who's to say with this, even if they did the 3% extra, that it will go to help the schools? You
would have to do, as part of the amendment, make sure that it was mandated.
Okay.
And through state laws too. So
okay,
you would have to, and I think that's the only way you sell it to the public. Too.
Yes.
Because some people will posit, and I'm not going to critique the effort. It was a valiant try, but Governor J.B. Pritzker early in his tenure tried to do a graduating class. He did not promise that kind of relief.
Okay.
Just said the state needed more money, basically. I think you have to promise that relief, because we all know what happened with the lottery, don't we?
Yes, we do.
It was supposed to help schools, but it was a game of, fungible proceeds. Let's say.
Yes.
Yeah. So you ask a really good question, and a question everybody's going to ask if they do this.
Right.
There's another thing they could do with some of this money is a circuit breaker program. It's worked pretty well in Minnesota. So let's say you're paying more than 5% of your bill in taxes, or your property tax, or your income in property taxes. What Minnesota does is you note that, or you you fill out a form with your your state income tax return, and they will then refund or give you a credit. You don't have to pay taxes, or you'll actually get a discount for the amount you paid over 5%. So nobody pays more than 5% of their taxes.
Got it.
So it stops a lot of the regressivity. But again, you need the funding mechanism. I think it's interesting now that Evanston is looking at doing that individually.
Good.
Alderman Claire Kelly called me. And so I think that's in the works in Evanston. It'd be sort of a pilot program, but it would work better at the state level. I will say the one drawback to that is you got to pay your taxes first in order to get the credit.
Got
And
it.
so you might have people, and Evanston's sort of working around that, which is admirable. But there are people that can't pay in the first place. So how do
Right.
you get the credit? So that,
Right.
it's not perfect, but it has helped a lot.
As I recall, we did have a circuit breaker program
We
here.
do have one on the books,
Yeah.
but it's really not used that much.
Right.
So let's talk quickly about some of these loopholes, which is one of our recommendations.
Okay.
Not to mention, we think that schools and other governments should look at things like consolidation and more efficiencies. But the loophole, 90 of about 135 municipalities that are totally or partly in Cook County are home rule communities. They're not bound by the tax limitation law. Tax increment finance districts are not bound by the tax limitation law. Now, and get this. In those districts, the taxes increased during those 30 years from 40 million to 1.4 billion.
My goodness. Wow.
Yeah. And that's driven the increase was about 300% in the suburbs. So it's quadrupled. in the
Yeah,
suburbs. But
yeah.
here's the one that's kind of startling. In the city, where they've proliferated like rabbits, these TIF districts grew by 2,975%
My goodness.
over those 30 years.
Wow.
So they might look at finding a way. So once a TIF district is formed and they close it out, they let the schools and everybody, the city, the county, just add that to their tax base. It might be better if they made a portion of the assessed value add to the tax base that would not be used for an increase, but rather to decrease
Got
your
it.
taxes and create a lower rate,
Could
which
you
does happen in some suburbs.
Can you explain a little bit about the meaning of TIF and what it?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I been studying this for years, and sometimes I forget I'm speaking jargon. So tax increment financing is a method adopted in the late 70s. It was pioneered in California. The idea behind it is when a TIF is formed in a certain geographic area.
Mm-hmm.
In California, it was initially done to match federal funding for projects. In Illinois, it was targeted for blighted areas where they needed a boost to restore the economy. And what they do is the taxes, the assessed value at the start of that TIF district is what all the taxing districts can bill from. But that as that assessed value grows, hopefully because you're investing in it, the extra money's used to incentivize developers, help them subsidize rehabs, provide infrastructure they may need to build new facilities, provide jobs, and expand the tax base.
Very
and those
good.
can go on for 23 years at that frozen level. You're allowed to stop it earlier if you complete the project you were aiming to do.
So it's like we're paying for like infrastructure repairs, things like that.
That's right. And
Wow. Through our property taxes. Which
yeah,
causes
and some
it to
people
increase.
question whether, now developers come to the city and it's some suburbs and say, I want my TIF deal. And you might question, do they all need it? And maybe there need to be tougher standards for that
Very good.
too.
I like
So,
this. This is good.
Yeah. We of course, are working on, that's our next big study on tax increment financing. As a writer, it's a bit of a challenge because
Mhm.
trying to explain that arcane stuff in an understandable way. But we'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there. Yes, we will. You did
So-
great.
So, but this issue of property taxes is an important one. I know that Treasurer Pappas would urge the districts to try to spend less money. But I think we're about out of time. I hope you enjoyed the show today. And next week, you'll have the fabulous Maria Pappas
You'll be back.
in the broadcasting booth.
Have a great day in the morning, Chicago.
Cloudy and warm with temperatures climbing near 80 on this Monday, April 13th, 2026. I'm Annette Flournoy, and in the headlines, weather tops our news, mainly dry today, but the National Weather Service is tracking possible storms that could come our way later. And a couple of thousand people in Gary, Indiana are expected to attend tonight's exclusive screening